Hi Sheila, Jim Barry here in the workshop. We're trying your big patterns of your Forest Leaf designs, seeing how it might work. I did buy some Douglas fir plywood, which has that exterior grade blue. There's some 3/8 and some 1/2-inch plywood I bought. 3/8 is 8 millimeters, about $26 a sheet, a full 4x8 sheet. And the 1/2-inch is 11 millimeters, and that's about a little less than $30 a sheet. And it's the good one side, so the pattern would be on the good side of the plywood. So before cutting the good stuff, I wanted to do an attempt first on a scrap piece of wood. And I have a Bosch jigsaw, like you see there. And so I use these kinds of scroll saw blades. It shows an image made for wood, and there's a curvy line. It just means that you can do turns cutting with wood. On the back, it shows for cutting with wood and the type of cut you're going to do and how many teeth per inch. So for rough cutting, fine cutting, very fine cutting, the finer you want to go, the more teeth you need per inch. So this one is for slow cutting, and for fine, 20 teeth per inch. So that's the maximum that they offer for fine cutting. So jigsawing a pattern is not really much different than, say, with the scroll saw pattern. You have to lay out your tracing paper and your pattern, trace the lines onto your plywood, and then you have to cut pilot holes in order to insert the jigsaw, just like you would for cutting pilot holes for the blades on your scroll saw. Surprisingly, even with this thin plywood, and I don't know what it is, but I think it's a little more than a 1/4 inch thick. So, but I think you had a concern that it was kind of flimsy, but that's pretty strong. So I'm just going to do some cutting here. One thing I did notice was that twisting and turning, there's a lot of twisting and turning, stopping and starting. It cuts pretty clean, but when you're cutting against the grain of the veneer that's on the top surface, you do get some chipping. You can do a solution for that, like working with any kind of plywood. You can, take the lines and you could run an exacto knife around the line, and that would assist in preventing chips like this from occurring. Now, in the grand scheme of things, a project this size, which is going to hang outdoors or it's going to be presented outdoors, little dings like that aren't going to be that important. So I don't really concern myself when I see stuff like that. So, all right. To drill a pilot hole, you can do, obviously you need a drill bit that's a little bit bigger than the blade. You need to either use a metal bit, whatever you got on hand, a metal bit or a spade bit, and this is inside the turn, so I'll put one there. And the reason I cut onto a backboard is if I don't, what'll happen, you'll get more splintering than you would if you were cutting right onto a board. That's a pretty clean cut through. This splinters more. So, and whether you use a spade bit like this or a metal bit like this, the result hole is about the same. the pattern, you see now this has got to go down in here and back up again. So I mean, I could take and can just continue on with that line, or removing. I just cut all the lines this way first, then I go back the other way. It's all up to preference, I guess, is how the person wants to do their jigsaw. Here's a flimsy piece. It's more delicate than, say, this one is, because it's supported on both ends. So, I was a little too aggressive there. That actually went out a little bit further, so it broke off. Yeah, and that's what happens. So, that's what happens with projects like this. Well, that's about it. I'll try the pattern on a big piece of plywood and we'll see where it takes us. One thing I have noticed, and I don't know, maybe just because it's an old piece of plywood, but the blades get hot really quick. I don't know how fast those blades are going to get dull, but they seem to still have pretty good tooth on them. But we'll see how it goes.